Today we'll be working from my workbook, Exodus from Egypt, which covers Exodus chapters 1 through 12. And going to the table of contents, we've already done the first chapter, which is Pharaoh oppresses the children of Israel. We're now going to go into Moses' life in Egypt. Let's go ahead and go there. Moses' life in Egypt, Exodus 2, verses 1 through 15. Scriptures start Exodus 2:1. And the man of the house of Levi went and took as a wife a daughter of Levi. So the woman conceived and bore a son. And when she saw that he was a beautiful child, she hid him 3 months. Now, one of the interesting things before we get started here is that throughout the Bible, normally we're following the Messianic line. But notice here right now, we're going to be emphasizing the house of Levi. And the reason why this is important is this house of Levi now becomes the priestly line. But we kind of sidetracked from the line of Messiah. Which tribe were the man and his wife from? They were from the tribe of Levi, or the son of Jacob, known as Levi. What was the gender of this woman's baby? It was a boy. How long did she hide the child? She hid him 3 months. Why was she hiding them? Well, because all baby boys were supposed to be thrown into the river or the Nile. And we actually know a lot about this family through other scriptures. We know the name of the child, Exodus 2:10b. So she called his name Moses, saying, because I draw him out of the water. Actually, the baby actually gets a name by Pharaoh's daughter, actually. And then we also know the name of the husband and wife and the fact that Moses had an older brother and an older sister. Numbers 26:59. The name of Amram's wife was Jochebed, the daughter of Levi, who was born to Levi in Egypt. And to Amram she bore Aaron and Moses and their sister Miriam. Miriam is actually the oldest. And then there's Aaron and then Moses. We don't see Aaron in this story, so he might be at home still or whatever. But we know that Miriam is the oldest as we go through the scriptures. The scriptures continue. Exodus 2:3. But when she could no longer hide him, she took an ark of bulrushes for him, dubbed it with asphalt and pitch, put the child in it, and lay it in the reeds by the river bank. And his father and his sister stood afar off to know what would be done to him. So Amram put the little baby in a little ark, a little boat of bulrushes that were coated with asphalt and pitch, much like the Noah's Ark was. And she put it in the reeds in the riverbank, and then she left. She didn't want to see what was going to happen to her son. But Miriam, his sister, sits in the reeds to see what will happen. What did the mother daub the ark of bulrushes with? Asphalt and pitch. This would make the ark more water resistant. Why could she no longer hide him? Because at 3 months he's probably crying. Probably people knew that he existed. It was at a point where she could no longer hide him. Why was his sister standing nearby? She wanted to see what happened to her baby brother. What name will the baby be called? Moses. Who is his sister? Miriam. Who is his mother? Jochebed. Laying the baby in the ark in the reeds by the river bank. Was the mother following the rules of Pharaoh or not? Why or why not? She did put him in the Nile. She didn't throw him in the Nile. So she was kind of following the rules, only sort of. But she left it to God, basically. How do you think the mother is feeling during this? She's probably pretty distraught. Any mother who's had to give up their child would know how she would feel. The scriptures continue. Exodus 2:5. Then the daughter of Pharaoh came down to bathe at the river, and her maidens walked alongside the river. And when she saw the ark among the reeds, she sent her maid to get it. And when she opened it, she saw the child, and behold, the baby wept. So she had compassion on him and said, "This is one of the Hebrew children." Now, how would she know it was a Hebrew child? Well, first of all, it's in an ark in the Nile. Uh, Second of all, it is possible that they have a little different skin color. Um, that is possible, based on if you look at Israelites today versus Egyptians today, a little different color in their skin. So that might be also the reason. And maybe what he was wrapped in. He was definitely handled, wrapped and taken care of a little differently than an Egyptian child would have been. Who came down to the river? The daughter of Pharaoh. Based on the table on page 4, we have an idea who this daughter of Pharaoh is. What is her name? So let's go on page 4. Here. The daughter of Pharaoh. And we believe it was Queen Hatshepsut. Hatshepsut. Hatshepsut, something like that. We believe that that was the daughter who was who picked Moses out of the Nile. Why did she come down to the river? She came down to bathe. What did she see among the reeds? She saw the ark among the reeds. Who got the ark from the reeds? Her maid went to get it. And what was inside the ark? Of course, a baby. What did the baby do when the ark was opened? The baby wept. Did the daughter of Pharaoh knew it was a Hebrew baby? Yes, indeed. She knew. How do you think she knew it was a baby from the Hebrews? Again, perhaps the color of skin, perhaps what he's wrapped in. These things would give her the indication that he's a Hebrew baby boy instead of an Egyptian baby boy. Maybe just even the fact that she knew what Egyptians were pregnant. Could be that too. So the scriptures continue. Exodus 2:7. Then his sister said to Pharaoh's daughter, "Shall I go and call a nurse for you from the Hebrew women, that she may nurse the child for you?" And Pharaoh's daughter said to her, "Go." So the maiden went and called the child's mother. And Pharaoh's daughter said to her, "Take this child away and nurse him for me, and I will give you your wages." So the woman took the child and nursed him. So talk about an interesting scenario here. Miriam, who's among the reeds, then comes right up to Pharaoh's daughter and asks if she can find a wet nurse in the Hebrew household, thinking of her mother, who, of course, who's is ready to provide milk. And so now Jochebed is now going to be paid by Pharaoh's daughter to take care of this baby for about 2 years, because that's how long they nursed him at that time, for about 2 years. So Jochebed's mother now takes care of Moses, but Moses is Pharaoh's adopted son, so to speak. Whose daughter talked to Pharaoh's daughter? Whose sister talked to Pharaoh's daughter? Moses' sister. And what is her name? Miriam. What was the question the sister asked Pharaoh's daughter? Shall I go and get a nurse for you from the Hebrew women, or a mother who can provide the baby with milk? Nursing means breastfeeding the baby. Do you think that the sister already had someone in mind to nurse the child? Well, of course. So who is the child's mother again? Jochebed. What did Pharaoh's daughter ask the Hebrew woman, who also happens to be the mother of the child, to do? Nurse the baby for her, and she will give her wages. Do you think Pharaoh's daughter knew that Miriam was the baby's sister and that Jochebed was the baby's mother? Why or why not? I don't know that she knew at the time. She may later learn of it, but at the time, I think she didn't see that. She saw only the baby. That's my belief anyway. So the scriptures continue. Exodus 2:10. And the child grew, and she brought him to Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son. So she called his name Moses, saying, because I drew him out of the water. So the child grew, so about 2 to 3 years of age. Then Jochebed brings Moses to Pharaoh's daughter to be raised as an Egyptian. And at this time is when he's named Moses. We don't know the name that the Hebrews had for him prior. It's never known. What did Pharaoh's daughter name the child? Moses. Why did she name the child this name? Because she drew him out of the water. Who brought the child to Pharaoh's daughter? Jochebed, his mother, brought the child to Pharaoh's daughter. How old was Moses when he was given to Pharaoh's daughter? Although nothing is written in the Bible about this, we do know that he no longer was nursing, so he would have been as young as 2 years of age. According to the scripture below, what did Moses learn as he grew up in the palace of the Pharaoh? Acts 7:22. And Moses was learned in all the wisdom of the Egyptians and was mighty in words and deeds. So he was raised like an Egyptian son, learning all the literature and all the words of the Egyptians, and he was mighty in words and deeds. So he could speak well in Egyptian. So the scriptures continue. Exodus 2:11. Now it came to pass in those days, when Moses was grown, that he went out to his brethren and looked at their burdens. What does it say here about Moses' age when he looked at the burdens of his brethren? When Moses was grown. Looking at the scripture below, who are his brethren? His brethren are the children of Israel. Acts 7:23. Now when he was 40 years old, it came into his heart to visit his brethren, the children of Israel. Looking at the scripture below, how old is Moses at this time? 40 years of age. What were the children of Israel doing at this time? They were slave labor, working hard. You remember they're in bondage to the Egyptians. So do the math. Look at the table on table 4. Looking at the table on page 4. What year was Moses born? So let's look at what year Moses was born. Let me get my answers there in case I mess up. Okay. So the year that Moses was born has been guesstimated at the year 1527 BC. Okay. So let's go back down here. Had to be this one. Since he is now 40 years of age, put 40 there and subtract. What is the year now? The year 1487. Actually, we'll see later, Moses is about 45 years of age, and the year is 1482. A lot of times there's approximations in the Bible. That was a way for people to remember all the scripture, is to put the years in generality and not specifics. The scriptures continue. Exodus 2:11b. And he saw an Egyptian beating a Hebrew, one of his own brethren. So he looked this way and that way, and when he saw no one, he killed the Egyptian and hid him in the sand. Okay, so a couple things you're noticing here. He sees an Egyptian beating a Hebrew, and he knows that he's not doing right because you notice that he looks this way and that way. Seeing no one, he kills the Egyptian and hides him in the sand. So he knows he's doing wrong. It says in this passage who his brethren are. Who are they? Hebrew people. What did Moses see an Egyptian do? Beating a Hebrew. The Egyptian was beating the Hebrew. He was probably a taskmaster. What did he do to the Egyptian? He killed him and hid him in the sand. How did he cover up the fact that he killed someone? He hid the body in the sand. So why did Moses cover his action up? He covered it up because he knew he did wrong by killing. He knew that would result in actions. He looked this way and that way, and when he saw no one other than God and Moses in this story, who else would have seen the killing and is alive to tell about it? His brethren, right? His brethren, the Hebrews. And the scriptures continue. Exodus 2:13. When he went out the second day, behold, two Hebrew men were fighting. And he said to the one who did the wrong, why are you striking your companion? And then he said, who made you a prince and a judge over us? Do you intend to kill me as you killed the Egyptian? So Moses feared and said, surely this thing is known. How soon did this event happen after he killed the Egyptian? The next day. Who was fighting? Two Hebrew men. And complete the sentence. Who made you a prince and judge over us? Do you intend to kill me as you killed the Egyptian? What did Moses fear? That him killing an Egyptian was known and that he would get into trouble. Do you think the Hebrew men knew that Moses was a Hebrew raised in the Egyptian palace? Why or why not? Yes, I think they did know, and they resented the fact that he was a Hebrew that got all this special treatment. Another question, if Moses was the adopted son of an Egyptian queen, would he have been a prince? Why or why not? Technically, he would be. He'd be a prince. Looking at the scripture below, this is 7. Does Moses eventually become a judge over his people? Exodus 18:13. And so it was, on the next day, that Moses sat to judge the people, and the people stood before Moses from morning till evening. Yes, he becomes the judge of his people. And 8. So if Moses was a prince of Egypt by being saved by the daughter of Pharaoh, and later becomes a judge over his Hebrew people, who has really made Moses prince and judge over his people? God. And the scriptures continue. Exodus 2:15. When Pharaoh heard of this matter, he sought to kill Moses, but Moses fled from the face of Pharaoh and dwelt in the land of Midian. So find Goshen and circle it. Okay, we will circle Goshen. And there and there. Find Midian. Draw a line from Goshen to Midian, avoiding the various bodies of water. Well, okay. Go from here. And then we'll draw a line from there to here. The distance from Goshen to Midian was at least 1,500 miles, assuming he didn't wander, which he probably did. So it probably took him at least 3 months to reach Midian. Why did Moses flee? Because the Pharaoh wanted to kill him. Was the Pharaoh who sought to kill Moses male or female? Male, of course. Check the facts using the table on page 4. What Pharaoh was ruling when Moses fled? So let's look at table 4 again. When Moses fled to Midian, it was Thutmose III that was ruling. Okay. Prior to this pharaoh, it was a queen that ruled, so we know it has to be after this male pharaoh starts his rule that Moses killed the Egyptian. What year was Moses born? Oh, he was born in 1527, and subtract the year and the pharaoh and A above ruled. Subtract the earliest year the pharaoh and A above ruled. Is that? Huh. Okay. It'd been 1487. So if the table is correct, what is the minimum age of Moses when he fled? 40. So the scripture on bottom of page 21 says Moses was 40, and yet this calculation says something different. How do you reconcile the difference? All right, 1527, and let's look at this again. 1527, and the earliest was 1482. So it would be 18 plus 27 be 45 years. Hmm. Guesstimations. That's how I would say that the difference. I mean, 40 is just a general rule of scripture so that they can remember. We know that a couple times we've seen that Moses is actually older than that. So I think it's just how they remember or quote the scriptures. He was in his 40s, I think. So we get to the crossword, the end of the chapter. Number 2, what is the name of the baby in the ark? Moses. It wasn't his name in the ark, but eventually. 5, what tribe is Moses from? Levi. 7, what country did Moses flee to? Midian. 1 down, who is Moses' mother? Jochebed. Who is Moses' sister? Miriam. Who is Moses' father? Amram. What country did Moses flee from? Egypt. So that's the end of this chapter. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you.